get his thoughts on some of the stuff we've been saying here too, and get his thoughts on what the Eagle coach should do with Nakobe Dean here, man. So welcome aboard, brother.
Big Sills, how you feeling today, sir?
Oh, good. So some of the stuff I'll give you a shot to respond to. Anything stick out to you that
the one topic that that you brought up earlier that I wholeheartly agree with you with is the idea of how they should handle the Nicholas Morrow and Nakobe Dean situation. The reality is, we're not saying Nakobe Dean can't play, but the reality is you have a guy in Nicholas Morrow who's been effective. You see the passing defense with the linebacker specifically. You see them just. I'm not saying they're great in pass coverage because they're not. It's a reason, the team is ranked 27th in the pass defense. But you're seeing them responding better to the tight ends. Now, I don't know if Sean Desai is scheming something up where he's kind of protecting those guys. I don't know if moving James Bradbury to the slot is kind of helping those linebackers. I don't know. But the reality is you have a guy in Nicholas Morrow who's been productive, he's been effective, and he always seems to be near the ball. So I don't see why I need to upset that apple cart, especially with the way the linebacker unit is set up right now. The reality is none of those guys have really played together that long. They need continuity. They need chemistry. And if you upset what's going on between Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham, that could potentially set back that linebacker core, like you said. And I agree with you with this notion. Those guys need to hear the same voice. Unless Nicholas Morrow just craps the bed. And I agree with you again about the fact that all these linebackers are on a week-to-week basis because none of these guys are old real money. So every week they have to prove it. And Nicholas Morrow is playing like he's proven it every single week.
Absolutely. Something maybe you disagreed with.
I'm trying to think, man. You covered a lot of topics. So far, I mean, you've been pretty spot on, especially with the Giants, man. The Giants are just.
Do you agree with what I said about the Giants? I mean, I came out of that game going like this.
They're pathetic, honestly.
Man, I think Seattle put a stick on them too, man. I mean, Dallas is taking victory laps over that, and I get because they saw a big number and a goose egg. I get it, but dude, man,
I mean, it's
Weatherspoon.
Yes. I was talking to the Sports Take guys earlier, D Gunn and Rob Ellis. Shout out to those guys. They gave me a chance to come on screen and talk to the people. I brought up the fact that Devin Witherspoon, the dude is talented and he's doing amazing things, but also that's a Lovie Smith guy, and Lovie Smith also recruited and brought in Sidney Brown. And if Devin Witherspoon, and again, they're two different players. One guy plays safety, one guy plays corner, but they're just two physical guys that's not afraid to throw their body around, and they've been coached up with the right mentality. If for some reason Sidney Brown can continue to develop and elevate his game and just remain measured, I'm not trying to take the dog out of him, but I want him to slow down and and process the game instead of moving too fast. I want him to get to a point where the game becomes instinctual, and now his body is just moving to the ball naturally, right? Right now, he's just throwing his body around. He's battling a little hamstring injury, but he'll be fine. It's not a big deal. I think Sidney Brown has a potential, has a high ceiling if he can figure it out, if he can stay healthy. I firmly believe that because of the connection with Lovie Smith, Devin Witherspoon, and that Illinois program.
Absolutely, and he's coached because Lovey likes those guys that Mike Tomlin. All those guys were on the same staff in Tampa.
Herm
Edwards, Mike Tomlin, Lovey Smith. They were all on the same coaching staff, and they learned their trade with Monty Kiffin on that Buccaneer defense back in the day. So that's kind of where they got their trade, and they learned it from, obviously, Coach Dungy, who's a defensive-minded guy. So that's from his defensive coaching tree. I said something earlier. And I know you like Nick, but I'm more on Angelo's side with this. Dude, why do you come out in press conferences and you try to fall on the sword for your coordinators when what you do is you are telling people in the public something that Eagle fans are not like LA or New York fans.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to take the lies like that. They're going to know you're lying. But you know what some people do? They give him the benefit because he's the head coach, and you know what you don't like to do? You don't like to shit on your head coach. That's a flaw, man. I just – there's no reason even to address it. Guy asks a question, hey, as a coaching staff, we have to be better. You don't have to go.
Yeah. It's like, I like Nick, right? And I say it all the time. I like Nick. He seems like a fun guy to be around. He seems like the kind of guy you want to root for, but
You're right. He knows how to
I'm
handle himself in that organization.
Right. Yeah. One thing I will give him credit for, he knows how to maneuver within this organization, working with Jeffrey Lurie, Harry Roseman, and all those guys.
Absolutely.
He knows how to maneuver. And I had the opportunity to meet Nick in person. He's real down to earth, man. Real cool dude. My man came to the Maxwell Awards in a tuxedo and Jordans, like just a calm, cool, collected dude, right? So I like Nick. Don't get it twisted. I like him. But I'm definitely more of a Doug guy. But of course, he got a Super Bowl. Why wouldn't I be, right? But it's just Nick at times, I feel like he says too much. I feel like Nick says more than what he really has to sometimes. But I think it's in him. My wife tells me all the time, like, sometimes you talk too much. You know what I'm saying? And I think at times Nick gets
so much Italian in your tone.
Nick speaks so freely sometimes, and he feels the need to answer all their questions in grave detail. And my mindset is, listen, man, you ain't got to give them everything. If they're asking you about one guy, make it about the group. And it's okay to do that. And I also understand why he goes out of his way to defend guys, even though I don't agree with how he does it. I get it, because the last thing you want to do is appear fractured, within your organization and to the immediate public. But I don't like how he answers some questions sometimes. I'll be completely honest with that.
How about this here, man? You said something to me the other day about when you make a decision like the Nakobe Dean decision to potentially put him in as a starter, you lose the locker room. Do you know why? To your point, he'll never lose that locker room, because he'll always go with management, because management picked those players in that locker room. And as long as he goes along with management, he'll never lose the locker room, because every guy in that building, Tone, knows that Nick had nothing to do with personnel. You have input. Your position coaches have input, but the decision-making, the trades, this is where Doug lost the team, because he started playing in Howie's sandbox.
Right.
And when he played in Howie's sandbox, Howie plays in his sandbox. He didn't know the structure of command in the building. He thought he was Andy Reid.
Right. But here's the thing, right? I can't even get mad at Doug for wanting to swing his weight around. I mean, he coached this team to a Super Bowl win. And on top of that, he didn't just win it. He won it with a backup quarterback and coached his ass off. Sills. I mean, I rewatched that. Maybe I'm living in the past, and I know I am, but I'm an Eagles fan. It's our own Super Bowl, so I'm going to always enshrine it. But I rewatched that Super Bowl at least once a year. And just seeing how Doug responded to every punch that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady threw, punch, counterpunch, counterpunch, punch, counterpunch, slip, slide, bob and weave, stick and move. He was literally, it was an exhibition. I'm not sure, I'm not entirely sure if you're in a boxing or not, but it kind of reminded me of that Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence fight, right? A lot of people thought Errol Spence was just going to come in because he was the bigger guy. He was proven, all that kind of stuff. Terrence Crawford, he was proven as well, but not the bigger guy. But it was just an exhibition of technique, fundamentals, and just perfect execution. That's what that Eagles Super Bowl reminded me of, just perfect execution, every decision, because the way that game was flowing, it could have went bad either way for both teams. One misplay, one 3 and out, this game could be totally different. Doug coached his behind off, and I got to give credit where credit is due. Sirianni, I'm still holding that Super Bowl against him, because there were decisions that he made or didn't make that went against his better nature, and I felt like he got tight. I need to see Nick Sirianni in that role again. I need to see Nick Sirianni in that position again, so I can find out if he's really about it.
Let's take a look at that staff and look at how what you're saying, that it's good that you go back and watch on perfection on how you coach.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
Versus Belichick and Brady, who are first ballot, unanimous Hall of Fame guys.
And Patricia. Patricia was there too.
Okay. How about this? Schwartz has got the #1 defense in the National Football League right now in Cleveland. You got a guy who's turning Jacksonville around. Little bumpy start out of the gate, but turning around Lawrence in that shitbox of a show down in Jacksonville. You got Frank Reich, who's a head football coach in Carolina. Okay? You've got guys that were littered on that coaching staff, dude, that you had the perfect world. Nick Foles just needed that kind of confidence.
Yeah.
And when you look at that coaching staff versus the coaching staff that you have now, and you look at that and you go, let me tell you something, Tone. If that team doesn't win a Super Bowl, it'll be decision-making. It'll be decision-making like it was in Arizona. That team is here. I'll tell you what, I'm more impressed with what the players are doing out of the gate at 4-0. You give me a grade for that coaching staff, I would do this.
I give them a C, honestly.
At best.
Yeah, the coaching staff as a whole, I give them a C. You know, so far throughout these past 4 games, I've seen questionable decision-making. I've seen questionable situational football. I've seen questionable red zone play calling.
How about player personnel with DeAndre Swift not being active? How about not getting the ball to Goddard? Is that the quarterback? And by the way, also, what I don't like is let Hurts eat. Let him eat, dude. Man, Tone, in the second half of that game, we talked about it yesterday a little bit. I think you're right, dude. He just went like this. Fuck it. I'm going to go out there and win this thing here, man, because you know why? Dude, the most effective play he had wasn't the 54-yarder or the touchdown in the end, because
that 20-plus yard run was a
came back and had a chance to win the ball game.
Yeah.
The thing was that 3rd down and 11 when he broke out, you just
like 20 yards, something like that. That was a backbreaker. That was his longest run. That was his longest run of the season. And it kind of reminded me of that Colts game. The Colts game was obviously uglier. The score was lower. But in that second half, you saw a switch flip in Jalen Hurts. He just told him, you can tell he said to himself, okay, I don't care what play they're calling. I'm winning this game my way.
Absolutely. Hey, speaking of the Giants, we're talking.
Yeah.
If I'm Barkley, man,
they're pathetic.
We go back, dude. You know what? I don't believe he's sandbagging. But what would compel me to go back out there knowing full well you've been trying to trade me and you're most likely going to trade me in the offseason to try to get picks? You tried to trade me already to Miami. Tone, why would I go out there with an offensive line that almost got Daniel Jones killed last night, 10 sacks, and you're going to put me back into that environment and you want me to play behind that line when you gave – get this. I would like I said in the first hour, I'd much rather have seen you go after Isaac Seumalo or Andre Dillard and try to shore up that offensive line.
Even DeAndre Hopkins. Like, you know, right. And look, I'm all about building the trenches first, but if you would have got D-Hop, I would have been like, I get it. I wouldn't have been upset. I would have understood the move. The moment that the Daniel Jones contract, you know, came across the news wire, I literally said, thank you, because I knew they were doomed from the beginning. You paid that man all that money, and he's really done nothing to really show you. Like, to be fair, he didn't even have a Jalen Hurts season last year. Like, no. It's just I don't understand why they felt so compelled to pay this.
Nobody was giving him 40 in the open market.
I would have called his bluff.
Dude, I'll take Ryan Tannehill over that guy.
I told you, I'll take Tyler Heineke over him. At least
I'll take Sam Howell.
You know, it's crazy. You know, we spoke about this earlier in the show about the running game, right? And you mentioned Saquon Barkley. You know, they decided to pay Daniel Jones. And look, I understand the quarterback position is much more valuable than a running back position. And I'm not exactly sure what numbers Barkley wanted. I think he wanted somewhere around 12, 13 million. Whatever.
First he wanted 16 and then he walked it back.
So he was willing to work with you. My overall point is, though, these teams, the whole offseason, right? And I said this to D Gunn and Rob. I think the Giants got caught up in the whole narrative all offseason about how you don't need to pay a running back. It's a passing league.
I think Minnesota got caught up in it.
And they got caught up in it. And the reality is, sure, you may not need to pay a running back $20 million or $15 million, sure. But you need to invest in that position somehow, some way. And you need to make sure that position is taken care of. Like I said to you earlier, the top three, the top 5 teams in rushing: Dolphins, Eagles, Niners, Ravens, Browns. Combined record 16-4. The bottom 5 teams in rushing: Raiders, Bengals, Packers, Steelers, Vikings, have a combined record of 7-13. You need a running game. You need a running back. Period.
How about this? Now you see why Howie wanted McCaffrey. Okay.
I'll be honest. If Howie would have got McCaffrey last season, I think the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, you take McCaffrey off that 49er team, that is not remotely the closest. You
literally see the moment he got there, Sil. I'm so glad you brought CMC up. The moment he got there, you saw the entire complexion of that defense.
Has he lost a regular season game since he got there? Because when he got there, I don't believe he's lost a regular season game.
They lost one, and the only
but
one
he
they
came
lost,
in on that Denver game.
Right. The only reason they lost is because I think it was the week he got traded, and I don't know if he even played.
He played. He didn't start.
Right.
I think ever since he started in San Fran, they haven't lost a ball game.
Yeah, not including
the regular season.
Yeah. But you're right. CMC, I watched CMC play, and it just seems like he's moving at a different speed than everybody else. It seems like he's seeing the game in a whole nother language.
Would you pay him $20 million?
CMC? Oh, that's a little scary.
I think that's what he's making.
Oh man, as a matter of fact, let's find out, right? Because these running back contracts are.
I think he's making $20 million.
Let's see really quickly, right? Top salaries, average salaries, running backs. I got it right here. Give me 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Okay. CMC currently has an average salary of $16 million.
16, okay.
And then Alvin Kamara is 15. Derrick Henry's 12.5. Chubb is 12.2 because he was on the tag, I think. Aaron Jones, 12 million. Josh Jacobs, 11.7. So yes, Christian McCaffrey is the highest paid running back, and you see why. But
you pay him 16?
Oh my God.
Can you imagine San Francisco without him?
Can I guarantee his health? I mean, I don't know.
Can I guarantee his health? Hey, you get your money. You get your money if you're healthy. If you don't, you get a bag of vittles.
Oh my God. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, look, I'm a little nervous about the Niners, though. And I'll tell you this. They're using him a lot early. And I'm a little nervous about this.
You do think over Brock Purdy's a deal.
You know what's so funny? Last season, of course, I was like, Brock Purdy, yeah, right. But seeing how he carries himself with the situation, and look, a lot of people want to say, well, what if he ain't have this? What if he ain't have that? Look, I hate that conversation because I don't like when people have that conversation about Jalen Hurts. What if he doesn't have Brown or Smith or Swift or whatever? I don't like that kind of conversation. So I'm not going to put it on him. The reality is, in his situation, he's maximizing it to the best of his ability. And I got to give credit where credit is due. He's balling. Right now, he's playing like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, maybe top 5.
$937,000. There's a chance that a quarterback could win a Super Bowl making less than $1 million a year.
What do you think the contract negotiations will look like for Mr. Irrelevant?
You know why they're going to – and get this.
They may get him for the cheap. You want to know why? Because of so many pieces around him, and he knows it.
Yeah, but here's something that Jalen Hurts has had to overcome. Dak Prescott and some of these other guys. You keep saying that people – not you, but everyone around the country – they keep questioning it is because he's Mr. Irrelevant. If he was a first rounder, nobody would be questioning it.
They wouldn't even question it.
You wouldn't question it. You're not looking at his work. What you're looking at is where he went. And that's why everyone was like, Dak's a 4th, 5th rounder. That's why the Cowboys hedged their bets on him. And that's why everybody, hey, you agree, right? Even going into the 2022 season, Eagle fans were like, hey, is he going to be the guy? Nobody was sold on him.
Yeah, no,
not even the Eagles. They had 2 1s for the following April draft to maybe go in and get a quarterback.
Look, I'll be fully transparent here. Transparent right now. When the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts, I scratched my head for a long time, and I was wondering what the hell's what's going on. What's the move? I don't get it. But then I really sat with it, right? As draft night, progressed, I really thought about our situation.
I thought he was going to Pittsburgh.
I did. He thought he was. So yeah. He said that on the on the New Heights podcast with Jason Travis. He thought he was going to be in Pittsburgh, but he actually ended up across the way in Philadelphia, right? But here's the thing, right? You brought up a really interesting point. If Brock Purdy was a first rounder, we wouldn't question it. If Jalen Hurts was a first rounder, we wouldn't question it. If Dak was a first rounder, we wouldn't question it, right? Trevor Lawrence, he's a first overall. He's 2-2 right now. Right. I mean, he's not playing terribly, but
look at Burrow. He's playing terrible. Now he's hurt.
No, he's hurt. He's hurt, but still, no one really questions when they have bad games or whatever it is. No one questions it. They're still the first round darlings.
Because you know why people, what they're doing with Purdy, they're waiting for him to turn back into Clark Kent.
Yeah. No, what do you always say? They're waiting for him to turn back into a pumpkin. That's what they're waiting on,
right?
Yeah,
they're waiting for this guy to go back. Oh, it's midnight. Okay, it's a pumpkin now.
I'll be honest.
Now has to go home.
I'll be honest with you. Listen, I'm not going to never lie to you, Sills. I'm waiting on it too, but I don't know if it's going to come.
See, man, everybody keeps waiting on this thing, and this guy's undefeated, and he's out to now look a completely different league and all that kind of shit. You can't really do decades. I hate when people go, well, Montana back in. Well, it's a different world today than it was back in the day. Completion percentages are completely different. All that, I get it.
I know a lot of people say
shocked.
Dan Marino. I'm pretty sure you heard the whole Dan Marino thing back not too long ago, where he was like, "Yeah, I would throw for like 6,000 yards in this league, all that kind of stuff, and I will win." My thing is Dan Marino. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. Dan Marino didn't have a running game, but he also didn't want a running game. He didn't want to run the ball, right?
So I didn't win.
That's why
I'll give you real quick. This is the problem.
So why would that change now? You're still the same person. You get what I mean? So
yeah. Oh no, you're right. That's a great point. That Marino thinks he'd throw for 10,000 yards, but my question would be, okay, so you'd be a better version of Kirk Cousins. I mean, that's what he's saying, because here's the problem. When Jimmy showed up, you see what they tried to do so much around him under the Shula years. They won. Get this. They kind of like Cousins. They won a ton of games. They won a boatload of games. But guess how many AFC title games they went to? 2 in his 18 years. They went to 2, won 1, went to a Super Bowl, got annihilated by the 49ers. And when you look at the way Marino, when Jimmy got there, dude, he goes, let's trade him to Pittsburgh. He wanted to send him home because he played at Pitt, right? He says here, do you think Tyrod Taylor was pretty good on Sunday? Yeah, in the second half he was. Hey, man.
That's funny.
Hey, but Jimmy tried to get a running game. Marino goes like this. No way. I thought our offense is just fine. Jimmy went, you know why? Troy Aikman will always have more success than you, because Troy Aikman is like Jalen Hurts. Hey, man, I might only have to throw the ball for 153 yards in this game. I don't have to throw the ball for 450 yards in this game. We're going to win. He's coachable. Dan Marino's not coachable.
What do you think is the worst and the best trait to have at the quarterback position? The worst and the best.
Coachability.
So as the coachability being the best, or the
and adapting.
Okay. Now, what do you think is the worst trait to have at quarterback?
Non-listener. Just being stubborn. Not being stubborn.
Being prideful, right?
Guys, how many times you see quarterbacks throw a ball in, like Josh Allen in the Jet game? That's stubborn. That's boneheaded. Mm-hmm. That's thinking your talent is going to win ball games when you have to rely on the other 10 guys in your huddle. You have to rely on your team. It's not about you. It's about all the dudes in your huddle, man, to make that offensive play work. We see so many guys force. Phillip Rivers is a great example of this too, forcing footballs into tight windows when you could check down. See, Brady, they call him the check down king. Well, if check down gets me 7 Super Bowls, sign me up.
Sign me the hell up.
I mean, who would you really rather be? A guy who chucks the ball down the field? This is why that Bruce Arians thing didn't work, Tone. Because remember when they were 7-5, they got beat by the Bears or some shit.
Yeah, and then Brady forgot it was 4th down or something like that.
Fourth down, the whole thing was a train wreck.
Yeah.
He goes in, he goes, no risk it, no biscuits, not working.
Right.
We're going to check this bitch down. We're going to get playoff Lenny going. And they went on the roll, man. They never looked back after that Bear loss. And they went on. You get this, if you remember right, they didn't even win the division that year. The Saints did.
Right, they didn't. That's a good point. I forgot all about that.
They didn't even win the division.
That's why I don't care about Jalen Hurts' stats. That's why when people get into those debates, I'm like, who cares? I don't care. He's leading them to victories. He's making the play that he needs to make to win. I don't care about Jalen Hurts' stats at all. I like Jalen Hurts the person. I like him as a quarterback. I like the way he carries himself. I like the way he handles his business. I like him as a player. I don't care about none of his stats. Does he move the chains? What's his efficiency in the red zone? Does he protect the ball? Right? Does he make winning plays? Right? Does he limit negative plays? Right? I don't care about his passing yards, rushing yards, passing touchdowns. Was he able to lead this offense from his own 20 all the way to the other team's end zone? Did he do that? I don't care who gets the TD, baby.
You see what Keon says, still cares, and I'm going to tell you why I do care. Do you think Jalen Hurts right now is 250 in the air, 75 on the ground? Do you think that's who I see him? That's who I think he is. Do you think he's been that in the first month of the season?
Overall, no. Overall,
but that's who he is.
Overall, he's been playing tight.
But
if you ask
that's
me,
who he is. Watch this. Patrick Mahomes is this 350, 25 yards on sprints when he has to take off to kind of keep plays going and kind of get the chains moving. But he's not going to go. Yeah. He's more he's more 300, 320 and 25 yards. That's who he is.
Right.
When you start coming away from your identity, okay, and you start getting out of your identity, that's when we're not playing Jalen Hurts football. And right now, he is so electric.
That second half of the Commanders game, that second half of the Commanders game was
totally
Jalen Hurts football.
Absolutely.
And Eagles fans, when I say I don't care about his stats, what I'm saying is I don't care about him throwing 300, 400 yards. But
stay who you are.
Stay who you are. Be you. That's why they paid you. Be you, make your plays. You know what I'm saying? 200 yards passing, 75, 80 yards rushing. I'll take it with the W.
You can't defend that, though.
I'll take it.
You can't defend that because his 75 yards are most likely on 3rd and long. Okay? And he breaks people's back, Tone. Not with the 250. Dude, Jalen Hurts' passing didn't break the Commanders' back. They were on the goal line with a 2-point opportunity to win the game. And it was a shitty decision and a overtime field goal. It wasn't anything. The offense really should. If Hurts doesn't play well in the second half, they might get beat by 10. Okay.
For sure.
I mean, the defense, their worst performance was against that Commander team. And if you look at the numbers, the Commanders really didn't put up sensational numbers in that game.
Yeah, they really
time of possession, and they limited their plays.
They literally executed the exact same game plan from the previous season. The only difference was the turnovers. And that's how the Eagles were able to win the game, because they limited the turnovers and they managed to take advantage of opportunities at the right time. This defense still needs a lot of work. They're battling a lot of injuries. And overall, Sean Desai has been on the right side of things for me, because I understand his situation. He's actually had to work with less than Jonathan Gannon. And I feel like the linebackers are playing, pretty solid, all things considered.
They're getting better week to week.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see what this defense looks like after the bye week.
They need to fire Terrell Edmunds.
Yeah, man. He's running like he has bricks in his cleats. Like
how many times did he get turned around in that game on Sunday? 3, 4, 5. I mean, I lost count after the second half. I mean, dude, he's a liability out there.
Hey, listen, keep an eye on Howie trade deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking at another safety or even a linebacker, right? I know Sal Powell said don't be surprised if they look for a running back too.
Wow, that would be a shocker. How about this one? Last question here for you.
Yes, sir.
I say the difference between the 49ers and the Eagles right now is that today, after the first month of the season, the Niners are more balanced with a better defense and a better offense.
Yeah. The reality is, even though I'm an Eagles fan, I have eyes. And the 49ers, despite the first 4 games they played, I mean, they haven't really
not world beaters.
They're not world beaters, but they've shown that we're here and you're here. The Eagles were as though they've had teams that really aren't on their level, but they made them appear like that for a little bit. And I think that's the difference. Like you said, on defense, the Niners defense just looks lights out. And that's really the main difference. If the Eagles if the Eagles were playing with the top 5 defense, the Niners and the Eagles would literally be looking exactly the same.
Here's my problem with the Eagle defense and where they are right now.
Yeah.
You've given 3 of the 4 teams that you've beaten last drive opportunities to beat you.
I don't like that.
Where last year, those teams were put to sleep early.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that to me is the difference in the team so far this year compared to last year, was that they put them to sleep.
Can I ask you a question really quickly before we get out of here? I'm thinking about, everything came so easy to the Eagles last year, right? Everything just seemed like it was just working. This year, so far through the first 4 games, you're seeing them having to really dig deep and really look in the mirror and ask themselves, who are we? And because they've came out on top of things, or rather because they've been able to have a gut check moment, they've been able to win these games. You played this game on the highest of levels, college ball, the NFL, Canadian football. You play pro football all over the world. So I'm really curious about your perspective on this. How valuable even though we expect the Eagles to really blow these teams out, how valuable are those kind of wins and how you win them in the long run, especially when you get into the playoffs, when sometimes things can get a bit ugly? How valuable are those kind of wins that the Philadelphia Eagles have been able to sustain and remain 4-0? How valuable is that?
A couple things there, what you just said there. The first part of that is the reason why people are playing closer to them, the Eagles are becoming predictable. Because, again, remember what was said to us in the preseason. They're not going to really change their formula when it comes to their defense, and they haven't. And they're really not going to change what they're doing offensively. So they've become predictable, and that's why teams are in all these games. The Eagles have to adjust. That's what the Goddard thing is to me, where it just doesn't make sense, that you really don't have to adjust. You just have to get the ball to the kid. I mean, last year you were spreading it around. And to me, I'll tell you what I think also the problem is. I'll get to the second part of your thing.
Right.
This Kenneth Gainwell edition, dude, I mean, he should not be part of the game plan. He should be an afterthought in the game plan. He should be like, if Swift's tired or something like that, he shouldn't be a focal point in a critical part of any game for that football team. He's the lesser of all of your talented players that you have in the offensive huddle. I mean, he's lesser than all of them, and yet you're featuring him sometimes in drives. I don't get that. And get this, it's at the expense of Goddard. Why would you put him over Goddard as a priority? How is that? I need to get that guy going. I don't give a shit about Kenny Gainwell. Now, to the second part of your deal, dude, you learn in adversity. You don't learn being a front runner. And when you have to grind and you have to scrape, let me tell you what they're going through also. They're going through that Super Bowl thing, but they're winning. I mean, look at what the Rams did after they won the Super Bowl. They got their shit kicked in. They got their doorknobs knocked off. They had a horrible season.
Right.
You're like, I mean, look at what it was like last year. McVay thought of quitting. And you're sitting there,
people forget about that. He was about to retire and go to TV.
Booth. He was going to quit. And so he goes, okay, I'll come back. Bro, I mean, to me, again, I think you learn a lot through this. And if they could come through it, and you know what's crazy? You know, you see some of these knuckleheads in here, and, you know, we both said this thing's going to be halfway through the season when you're going to start to see really improvement. Yeah. What was the fool's gold was you started seeing Davis and Jalen Carter playing well. Well, guess what happened? Washington, you know how they stopped those two? Quick passing game.
Yep.
They still got back there, but they weren't the dominant force, and they were able to run the ball. Why? Because Bieniemy knew how quick passing would open up the lanes a little more in the middle, and they were able to they outrushed the Eagles.
Yeah. And you're a DT, right? You're a former DT. How frustrating is that when you see the ball getting out and you know you can get this quarterback, but the ball's getting out so fast? How frustrating is that for a DT?
But you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to quick pass you, and what they're going to do? They always have to come back to the run game to keep that third and short. They won first down. Washington won first down the majority of that football game. That's also a factor in what kept them in it. Tone, great stuff, brother. I appreciate you always, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great stuff. My friend Philly 500 is also going to join us at 4:30 Eastern time. Don't forget our great friends, man. We love them. Our friends at Hooters. There's no question about it, man. We are proud to be the official home this year in line with our friends at Hooters. 7 locations in the Northeast area. No question about it. We're so proud of our relationship with 40 years going strong with them. Do me a favor. Go to northeasthooters.com to find that location nearest you in the Northeast area. You're absolutely going to love also the app, hooterstogo.com. Maybe you don't want to go in. Try the food. You will absolutely fall in love with it. If you do go in, try some of our great specials. Buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. Wing Wednesdays, $19.83. All you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturdays. Northeasthooters.com. That's northeasthooters.com. When you roll into any one of the Hooters, do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
all in Hooters, the perfect